People say I talk about some weird stuff, some far out stuff. But how about that chair that you're sitting in isn't solid? How weird is that? This reality is nothing like we think it is.
When I saw what Icke is doing, I was a bit jealous on him. Wow, look at what this guy's doing.
I don't know if anybody else could do it but him, actually.
We are in a period now where speaking your truth is not just important, it's utterly crucial to where humanity goes from here. The world needs renegades, and it needs them now.
David, hello, welcome back.
Morning, Jeff.
Yes, sir. Good morning indeed. I was trying to think. I can't remember that when you came to Santa Barbara to give one of your early presentations. It introduced you, and then we spent some time together at Janie's house there in Montecito and so forth. And that had to be close to 30 years ago now. You've been at this 30 years.
Yeah, I remember it well. And I tell you why I remember it well, Jeff, because when I first came to America, I was talking to a man and a dog when the dog could be bothered to turn up. I was talking I remember talking in someone's front room in New England. That's the kind of thing that was going on. And if I was asked to a conference to speak, like one of these weekend conferences of multi-speakers, I would be on late at night when everyone had gone home. I was the conspiracy strange guy from England, and people weren't really interested in it. It was much more
a lot of empty chairs.
Oh my God, yes. I became very close friends with empty chairs, Jeff. I tell you, very close friends. I mean, I've spoken in theaters where literally where the first row wasn't full. But why I remember that night when I first met you, when you introduced me in Santa Barbara, is because the place was packed, and it was kind of a new experience for me. And in that 3 months that I went around America for the first time talking, it was that event, and it was one in Vancouver, Canada, which 250 people turned up, that kept me going, because there was no evidence before me apart from those two events that there was any interest in this whatsoever. But it's like everything, you know, if you keep going and you believe in what you're doing and you don't give up, then if what you say has validity, then things will start to happen. And what happened on that first trip is that the seeds were sown, really. And when I came back, there was a few more. And when I came back, there was a few more, and eventually a lot more. And this is what you have to do, you know. We're taking on a system with enormous impact and control, which has been built up literally over centuries and then some. And so when you first meet resistance, you don't walk away if you care about what you're doing. This is one of the things. See, you've been on this journey, this same period as I have, and you are still here tonight talking to me. But you will have seen, as I have seen so many times, that people in this arena of seeking to expose what doesn't want to be exposed, people who've come often out of nowhere, they're suddenly the current star of the quote scene, and they disappear. And excuse me, you told me how important this was. Where are you? But they've gone.
Yeah.
You know, and really, you will be the same as me when you look back over this long period of decades. The number of people that appeared and then disappeared. Where are you, ladies and gentlemen? Because we're still at it, because we still need to be at it. And, today is a kind of an appropriate time for us to be speaking after what happened to Julian Assange today. And a great friend of mine died this week, a guy called Robert Greene, who is in Britain in this whole arena, a very, very highly respected campaigner against child abuse, who actually went to jail for it. The Scottish legal system and politicians put him in jail for it, and it's testament to the fact that if you want to make a difference, if you want to stop this psychopathic evil completely taking over, then it's very simple. You do what you know to be right, irrespective of the personal cost. The personal cost doesn't only become secondary, it becomes irrelevant to what is right. You do what you believe to be right, and the consequences will take care of themselves. And it's those people that make a difference, not the people that come and get the spotlight and then disappear. Because the fact they've disappeared means they weren't genuine all along.
They weren't real in the first place.
Yeah.
I've always warned people, please, when someone appears as if out of nowhere overnight, mark them down and watch them closely. Don't trust them. Things don't happen like that.
No.
These people are created opposition. They're moles. They're penetrating our space with their people. They're frauds, and there are lots of them out there. And they do exactly as you say. They appear overnight and then they vanish. They're gone 6 months or a year later. Some hang around longer, but they come and they go.
Yeah, and you also have people that see an opportunity to become known, to become the center of attention, and that's
ego.
That's another
narcissism, ego, Donald Trumpism. Yeah,
that's another way or reason that these people come and then eventually disappear. And why do they?
That's why there are over 500,000 at least radio talk shows now, because the people hosting them want to be a celebrity.
Yeah, and the thing is that when they disappear, like I say, they are showing that they were not genuine to start with, and it's those that keep going and keep going, no matter what the challenges, no matter what the abuse, no matter what the ridicule, that are genuinely doing something they believe to be right, and you can see them by longevity. And you are absolutely right in the sense that you don't come out of nowhere, because you've got to spend years and years. Because while I was traveling around America talking to nobody, I was gathering information. In that 3 months I was traveling around America, I kept meeting people who were giving me information, puzzle pieces that you were fitting together to make the picture. And this is what it is. It's a period that never ends of constantly compiling more and more information and more insight. And that means you don't come out of nowhere. It's a very long journey.
Wisdom doesn't come out of a box or a bottle. Wisdom is a long-term process, which is exactly as you're describing. It takes years and years, and even then, there's no guarantee that somebody has what it takes, or they were blessed with it genetically or however, to turn all that information into wisdom. They don't necessarily all have it. You can hear in people's voices, and all of you listening, all of you listening, have heard many people on this, over 20,000 people on this program since it started. You know when you hear a voice of substance. You know when you hear a voice of wisdom. And David has that voice. You know that. You hear it loud and clear. That's why he speaks to packed arenas now and halls when they let him. God, we'll get into that later, I guess. It's an issue of human beings synthesizing, processing, and then making something intellectually palatable and understandable. That's wisdom, to spread it around. Very few people have that gift, David, as you well know. And I didn't mean to disparage all talk radio hosts by any means, but there are probably 500,000 programs around the world online now. What do? Oh, I have a talk radio program. I have a podcast. Everybody wants to be a celebrity. That's the truth. We live in the cult and a culture of celebrity. It's very simple.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I say that the more the merrier, but the rider to that is the more genuine people, the merrier. Absolutely what we need is more and more people putting this out, but from a genuine perspective. And genuineness doesn't pack up its tent and walk away. Genuineness becomes even more vehement in its determination to make a difference. Because, I mean, again, you will know this as much as me, but it is an extraordinary thing to behold that anyone can see, at least to some extent, what is happening in the world and what the consequences are, both present and even more severe in the pipeline. And then, with that knowledge, can walk away because the kitchen's getting too hot or whatever. I cannot follow that mentality. Surely, the more you know, the more you become aware of where this is meant to go, and indeed by the day is going, then the more you look into the eyes of your kids and your grandkids and other people's kids and grandkids and say, my God, I've got to up the effort here, not walk away. So it's an extraordinary thing for me because I couldn't walk away. I could stop doing this, and within an hour, I'd be back. Because you can't. Of course. You can't. Because how can you live with yourself if you just walk away from the challenge in the knowledge of what is planned to come?
Our prime directive in many ways is to leave this place somehow, some way, a little bit better than it was when we came in. And I certainly have always tried to live by that, and you have too. And you've succeeded. Our movement, if you want to call it that, and I'll just use that as a pedestrian term here, our movement is so targeted, so surveilled, so impregnated with shills and phonies and opportunists and operatives. It's not funny. And they'll try and take the good people down real quick if they're given a chance. But one of the things that I'm sure you and I are on the same page, we're always watching for threats and people who are disingenuous, people who are liars, charlatans, and they're some of them very damn clever, unfortunately.
I've come across a stream of them in the last 30 years. And what I've always done is to basically work alone. The people that work with me are my family, who I can trust, obviously, and I have met so many people outside of my family. And of course, you will have come across this. What happens, it's the ones that tell you how important your work is, how much they care for you, they're the ones that turn out to be the ones that give you most grief and challenge. And so I've always worked alone, A, because I'm that kind of person, but also because the more people that you bring in, the more
vulnerable you are.
Exactly.
The more they'll take your energy, drain you. I work alone too. I have no staff. I don't want a staff. It's awfully difficult. We both work 12, 14 hours many days. And it's something that I think we both protect from outsiders. I've learned the hard way. You've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
You let somebody in, and they're going to try and intentionally or otherwise, it doesn't matter, but they're going to damage you or try and take you down. They'll take your energy. And I can't allow that. Neither can you.
Especially now, because more than any time in this whole 30 years, backbone and fortitude are required in unlimited amounts, because we've reached the point now, because of the way this has gone, where the alternative media, the genuine alternative media, like you said earlier, is being targeted like never before. And it's a real simple equation. The whole foundation of the conspiracy is to hijack, control, and dictate human perception. Because you can't control 7.7 billion people by physical means. Well, they want to do that via AI, but I mean, at the moment, they still can't. So you have to do it by taking control of their perceptions, which lead to their behavior. Behavior come from perceptions. Reactions to everything come from perceptions. And perceptions come from information received. And the idea, this is the outcome that they want in this beyond dystopian world that has been so long planned, is to create a situation where no one ever hears any information of any kind in the public arena and eventually anywhere that the system doesn't want people to see and hear. That's the outcome. And I have this phrase, know the outcome and you'll see the journey. If you know the outcome, then apparently random events, which they appear to be if you don't know the outcome, where it's meant to go, those random events suddenly become very clear stepping stones to the outcome. And so what we're seeing now are all these stepping stones being increasingly made more extreme to control everything that people see and hear. This is happening, of course, with the internet giants in Silicon Valley, who are absolutely not controlled by the people that they put on public display, like Zuckerberg and co, that are systematically censoring what people can see and hear. This is why they have put the main focus of people's gathering of information onto the internet, because then they can use algorithms to dictate what people see and hear. And this is what we've seen with Assange today. You know, I'm not 100% supportive of everything Assange and WikiLeaks have done. Absolutely not. But I am supportive of, like, for instance, putting out stuff that's not redacted to protect people. But the stuff they put out in terms of the Afghanistan war, the Iraqi war, Hillary Clinton, was absolutely information that we had to see to get a better grasp on what this is really all about, and why events have happened compared with why we were told they happened, etc. And so making an example of him, it says to everyone else, this is what happens if you take us on. This is why this backbone, this fortitude is necessary, to look that in the eye and wait for it to blink. That's what we need to do. And so we're seeing now this war on any information that exposes what is really happening. And this is where you need the genuine people to stand up and be counted. And a lot of them will fold, because a lot of them will say, hold on a minute, what are the consequences of this for me? That's the death knell. That's the end. Once you ask that question, what are the consequences for me? It's over, because you are now opening yourself to censor yourself, which is the most insidious type of censorship, on the basis of personal cost. That is the end. Once you cross that line, well, thanks for all you've done, but I'll see you later.
Yeah. You know, one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen in my life was your early on presentation of problem, reaction, solution, helping people understand how they're so easily manipulated and controlled. And that was really before the internet. it was around, but it was in its early stage.
Yeah.
And when you look back on problem, reaction, solution and compare it with the insidious nature of 24/7 mind control, mind manipulation, social engineering, voice to skull technology, false memory syndrome, implanted, anything, 5G coming along now. The entire internet created by the dark side, if you will, to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And we have to play by their rules because it's a private enterprise. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant the way they've set it up. Problem, reaction, solution. They're so far beyond that now. It's absurd. But that was absolutely stunning to hear presented. I used to watch the audiences sometimes when I get a chance to watch, and they were just stunned. They finally figured it out, how they were being controlled. And that was one of the biggest door openings I've ever seen. And you did that. And that's one of the reasons they've made a movie about you called Renegade. So tell us a little bit about the film, David.
Well, it came out of nowhere. I didn't go around saying, I want to make a movie. I've learned over 30 years. My life 30 years ago, when I had a series of, you might call paranormal experiences, to say the least, suddenly turned into a synchronistic journey where people, information, personal experience would come into my life in the most coordinated way that was, and still is to this day, handing me puzzle pieces, almost in the order that makes it easier to see where they go. And it's like doing a jigsaw puzzle. Whenever I've done a jigsaw puzzle, I've done one for a long time, I like to get the frame done first. I like all the bits with straight sides, and so the frame is there. And once you get the frame, and in this whole subject area, it's where do they want to take the world, and what are the techniques of getting there? That they are the two prime things, foundations of understanding. Once you've got those two, then the rest starts to very quickly form. And so this is what's happened to me for 30 years. Information just comes into my life through most synchronistic reasons. And, I've had many periods where a new subject would come in to my life, and suddenly it would be hitting me from all angles, no matter where I went. So this is how it's happened, and this has happened with the film. It just came out of nowhere. Someone says, would you like to make a film? Because I think your life would make a great movie. And it just all fell into place. It's been done by an American company. It's been available on June the 4th, and I'm doing a series of premieres which I will appear at and answer questions at, as well as seeing the movie. They're in Manchester and London and Los Angeles, New York and Amsterdam. And they start on the 24th of April in Manchester, 26th in London, 30th in Los Angeles, 2nd of May in New York, and 9th of May in Amsterdam. And always with me, my focus is, how do we get this information out to people, new people, who can see that the world's not like they thought it was by whatever means. And so the movie, yes, it's about my life, but that's only the theme. That's only the central theme. The real thing about the movie, it is absolutely jam-packed with information about how the world works, both in the nature of reality, to the names, dates, places, conspiracy, all of it. And so that's why I liked it. And I have had absolutely nothing to do with the editing. And we shot it in about 4 countries over about 6-9 months. And the people that edited it were new to the information, which was really, really good, because they put it together on the basis of what do new people need. There's a phenomenal amount in it for people who know about it, but it's basically put together on the basis of, which is where I'm coming from all the time. What do people need to hear to to grasp the foundations of what's happening. And so I'm very pleased with it.
There's a trailer, if you look for David's name and guests on Rense News on the page. You'll find it, Renegade. Official trailer. So take a look at that. We're going to take a break and come right back with David Icke with more in just a few minutes. Listening to this program for any length of time, you'll know that Fukushima, the greatest calamity in history, has now, as I've been warning since 3/11, killed off virtually the whole North Pacific Ocean and especially up and down the entire West Coast. The radiation is migrating inland and is moving across the entire country. There's only one proven defender to radiation exposure, the brilliant Chernobyl-proven discovery of Dr. Michael Curiak, which combines the 4 most potent and powerful algae on the planet, imported to the U.S. and known as bio-superfood. I've taken bio-superfood every day for several years now and want you to do the same for your sake and the health and safety of your family and loved ones. Take the banner at the top of Rense.com and prepare to learn how to save your life. There's a lot of talk all over the internet these days about the remarkable benefits of carbon-60, and baby boomers are especially excited about it. Whatever generation you're in, if you want more energy, better health, and a boost in vitality, we invite you to try Greska's Carbon-60, a stunning development in free radical destruction. Being much smaller in size than conventional antioxidants derived from fruits and vegetables, it is far more bioavailable to quickly mend the toxin-crippled cells in your body. Greska's Carbon-60 is the only C60 product that is made without the use of undesirable solvents. The only one. Greska's Carbon-60 was developed by a brilliant NASA carbon scientist, and 95% report positive results from this Nobel Prize-winning technology in just 4 days. Visit c-60.com. That's c-60.com or call 720-600-6040. After years of searching, I finally found the only food storage company in America offering a complete line of highest quality food products and an amazing variety of 100% organic food storage products. It's called Numana.com. In addition to the best in food storage, they even have an incredible high-tech little wood stove that can boil your water or heat your food 24/7, rain or shine. I urge you to do your own research and taste the difference in Numana's highest quality foods. Better yet, order a starter pack for only $19.95 and prepare to be amazed. Numana's food products have a 25-plus year shelf life. They are GMO-free, contain no preservatives, and are completely American-made. Visit Numana.com and see what you've been missing. That's Numana, Numana.com, Numana.com.
One of the best recommendations that I could give is to keep your immune system strong.
Ty, by the way, is also a spokesperson for one of our clients, Carnivora. And I believe the owners of Carnivora heard you on the program, Ty. Is that how that happened?
Yeah, it's funny, George. You know, you interviewed me for the first time about 4 or 5 years ago. And when we were on that interview, I talked about how my family took Carnivora each day. And the owner, Richard Ostro for Carnivora, contacted me after that and said, "Hey, I'd love for you to do some commercials for us because you're a believer in the product." And I can say this wholeheartedly: I don't sell Carnivora. I don't make a penny off of the sales of Carnivora. It's just a great product. What's the difference? It's the immune system, so we want to be healthy.
We sure do.
Call 1-866-836-8735. That's 1-866-VENUS-FLY. Or visit carnivora.com. carnivora.com. For 15% off, use the promotion code 150FF. That's 150FF.
Okay, welcome back. Talking with David Icke. As many of you have noticed at the top of the homepage, I've got the clip, very famous clip from the X-Files of the very erudite, intelligent, well-manicured man saying simply, and there was a lot of truth in the X-Files, if many of you remember when it came out. He says, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And that was the message. And he was speaking a great truth there. And the technology, the X-Files, 1994 it started, I think. The technology in the 25 years since the X-Files debuted has advanced geometrically, astronomically. It's way down the road from where we're allowed to know. I think David and I and you who are regular listeners have a fairly good idea of the amount of advancement that has been achieved, and it's all at the expense of the common man and common woman. They don't care. One of the hardest lessons for the new among us, our group, to accept is that human life means absolutely nothing to the international globalist elite. Nothing. If it means anything, it's something to serve their pleasure. And I'm talking about life and death. It's not a pretty picture. But David, the best way to predict the future is to invent it.
Yes,
and we could say that about the present too.
Yeah, but they are inventing it, and we're back to this whole point about control perception, control the world. That's what it's all about, controlling human perception. Now, up to this point, and still up to this point, but not for much longer is the plan. The way of controlling perception is to control information received, which leads to perception. People form their perceptions, like I said, from information received. And this is where all the censorship is going. And the censorship is also going, of course, because they want to block the exposure of them inventing the future, inventing the present. But the idea all along, and there's reasons why this whole technological society could be planned a long time before the technology even apparently existed. This can all be explained. This technological society is designed to go to the next level, which is instead of manipulating perception, to become perception. And that's what the connection between AI and the human brain mind is all about. This is what Ray Kurzweil at Google is really predicting when he talks about AI being connected to the human brain by 2030, and then, as he says, the AI will do more and more and more of human thinking until human thinking is basically negligible and disappears. Right. This is what they're talking about.
Kick us under the bus, sure.
Yeah, and of course, to create this smart grid, which is why everything today, excuse me, is called smart, is to create a situation where not only the human mind, but all technology around the world is connected to this grid, this smart grid. And that means a simple thing. Whoever controls the smart grid, and it's designed to be a very few people, they will dictate everything. They'll dictate what you think and what you feel or don't feel. They'll dictate whether the lift door's open or not. I mean, we are talking about the fine detail of people's lives being manipulated through this grid. And therefore, two things. First of all, what Kurzweil's talking about is the human brain being connected to what he calls the cloud. What he means by the cloud is the smart grid. And for that to happen, you need the cloud connectivity everywhere. And that's why people like Elon Musk, who has once railed against the fact that this could be the end of human life, this AI, then opens a company called Neuralink to connect the human brain to AI, and runs this company, or at least he's a figurehead for this company called SpaceX, which is putting satellites in their thousands, and in the process of doing it, into the sky, and they want 20,000 is a number that keeps coming up, beaming Wi-Fi connectivity at every inch of the planet so no one can escape from it. The other side of this equation is they need a communicative power and frequency that can run this grid. And that is what 5G is all about, 5G and beyond. So this is why 5G is being rolled out without any testing, independent testing. This is why the telecommunications industry spokespeople turned up at on Capitol Hill and accepted in a question that they'd spent no money on independent research into 5G. It's because it's being steamrolled. It's very simple. Right. If it's the agenda, it doesn't take no for an answer. So it doesn't matter how brilliantly, how factually you demolish what the agenda requires, the agenda incessantly keeps going on. I mean, we've got a situation, classic example in Britain at the moment, called smart motorways, what you call freeways in America. And here's something. We have 3 lanes on each carriageway, sometimes 4, but anyway, mostly 3. And then on the left-hand side, you have, as you will have in America, what they call a hard shoulder. It's an emergency lane. If you break down and your car won't go, then you get into the hard shoulder, the emergency lane, and then the cars are passing you, and you're relatively safe, not totally, but relatively. What they've done with smart motorways, which are all part of the process of creating the environment for smart driverless cars, that's what it's really about in the longer term. What they do with smart motorways is they use the emergency lane as a normal lane. So if you break down, and with these cars that are all basically electrical now, they can just stop if the electrics break down. And if they stop like that, you have no brake lights or anything. And what happens is you stop. And as you stop, there are cars coming from behind. And what's happening is people are dying in these crashes.
They're piling up, huh?
Yeah. Now, the reason I bring this up is despite people saying, hey, this is crazy, man. These people are dying. Look, it's crazy. It's always going to happen. Look at it. They've now announced that another something like 800 miles of motorway is going to be turned into smart motorway. And this is what I mean, that the agenda doesn't take no for an answer.
No. Well said. Does not take no for an answer. Here's another agenda that is headed our way. Apparently they've rolled it out in China significantly, if not fully. The Chinese social credit system. It's as if you will have a social credit system to reflect your financial credit rating. Everything you do, apparently, at least if they get their way, and they will, because the agenda doesn't take no for an answer, will be factored into your social credit standing, your score. That's Big Brother times 10. That's it. That's coming to America, apparently, from everything I read.
Well, it's coming because of what China is. See, people see borders, and they see regimes, and they see different types of regimes. But actually, if you get into the core of the core, they all attach to this global web of manipulation.
Sure.
So the Chinese leadership will be attached to this web as much as the neocons in the United States that control Trump. In fact, Israel controls Trump. It's anything more blatant I've never seen.
No.
Now, but the difference with China is this. It's about image and it's about possibility. If you look into the West, it has an image, part of the whole process of perception manipulation, of being a free society. I know it's hilarious, but that's what they say. A free society. Now, because they're claiming it's a free society, they have to do things, although increasingly they're becoming more and more blatant. They have to do things in a way that doesn't appear to be so in your face, or like I say, it's becoming like that. In China, they don't have that problem. China's a dictatorship. And therefore, they can bring in China, just by diktat, whatever they want. And so
Right.
I've been saying to this, Jeff, to people for years, if you want to know what's coming in the West, look at China. Because China is ahead of the game because it can be. Because it has the ability to impose without any lip
No
service at all.
No oversight, nothing.
None.
Got it.
So it's a laboratory. You know, I've been saying for years that the United States is a laboratory. The United States is a Western laboratory, and China is, if you like, an Eastern laboratory for this reason. And they're very different because they have different levels of power, if you like, of imposing their will. So in China, the laboratory is we do what we like. So now they've got this credit system, this social credit system, which has so far, as I was reading the other day, stopped something like 17.5 million Chinese actually traveling on trains and aircraft. Because if you behave in ways that the system doesn't like, then you're given negative credits, and that eventually means that you have consequences like you're not allowed to buy a train ticket or you're not allowed to buy an air ticket.
Wow.
This is what is happening. I mean, it's phenomenal numbers of people already because it's China. We don't always hear about it. So that's the Chinese laboratory. The American laboratory is much more subtle. Well, it is if you're not looking for it, whereby it's all psychological. What works and doesn't work in terms of getting the people to accept our will and what we want happening. And then once it's worked in America, this is fast food, this is fast news, where there's no substance, this is all these things. They then export it to the rest of the world because they've found that it works. And what people say then, oh, the American culture's everywhere. No, it's not the American culture. It's that which has worked in the psychological laboratory to impose a society and behavior upon the population. It's worked, okay, so now we want this everywhere. And so you see the so-called Americanization of the world, but it's not. It's the cabalization of the world based on America, what's worked in America. So these are the things that are going on all the time, and it eventually it's like the progressive, fascistic progressive, what I call the Soros progressives. That came out of the West Coast into greater America, and now it's big time in Britain and other countries. And of course, it's that mentality that's driving political correctness, that's driving censorship, where you have this extraordinary alliance for people of my age who saw another version of the left going further back that actually went on marches demanding freedom of speech. Now, the hijacked Soros left, the progressive left that's actually not, is protesting against people having freedom of speech. And thus you have this extraordinary alliance now between the so-called left and giant corporations in Silicon Valley who are censoring. Whereas before, the what was called the left then in the 60s, etc., and before...
John Kennedy was a Democrat.
Yeah, they would have stood up screaming at the Facebooks and the Googles and the Twitters and the Amazons for all their censorship. But instead, they're in alliance. And this is, again, what has happened, not least thanks to Soros' money, is that there has been a psychological transformation of what is called the left. So it's no longer what it was before. And it's because this is why you look at their behavior while they're screaming about anti-hate with hate in their face.
Semantic insanity.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It's because that this psychological transformation has taken place where they actually believe they are social justice warriors while acting in a fascistic way at the same time hurling Nazi and fascist at everybody else.
Yeah. One more word about this Chinese social credit system that's coming here. They call it, what do they call it? It's called a social reputation. That's the formal name of it. National Reputation System. There it is.
Yeah.
National Reputation System. Now, this is going to be used, as you heard David just say, as enforcement by literally limiting your freedom to move around in your culture and your society.
Yep.
No plane ticket, no train ticket, no petrol this week, no fuel, you don't go anywhere. And if they really want to get nasty, which they will, you know what they'll do? I predict you don't have enough social credits, your smartphone is turned off for a week until you get in line and get your score up. They're going to make this work. They're going to put teeth in it, and it's going to be hell to pay if they want it that way, and I think they will.
This is the way it's going. I mean, I don't know whether you saw this week, the British government announced that they're going to, or they intend to appoint a kind of overseer of the internet to decide what can be seen and what can't be seen. I mean, the thing is, if China announced that, or Russia, they people would be up in arms. The media would be up in arms. Look, this is totalitarianism. But if you do it from the right angle, it's all psychological. It's all a mind game. This is why the parties with the reputation of being about freedom and against big government are the ones that introduce it quicker than the others do. Because the image is, we're against big government, so they can create big government behind that smokescreen of we're against it, whereas another party might have a reputation of being for big government, and when they announce a big government policy, people say, see, told you, they're big government they are. So it's again a mind game. You say one thing and you do another. This is how it works, and this is why we've got to be streetwise. And this is a very, very important point. Stop judging what the truth and validity of what people say by who says it. Because if you do that and you say, I'm not accepting anything this person says because it's them, or I'm accepting everything this person says because it's them, then you've given your mind away. And this happens all the time. I look at Fox News, and most of Fox News is appalling. But there are one or two things I see on it, often delivered by Tucker Carlson, that I say, yeah, that's actually absolutely on the money. And I'll look at CNN and MSNBC, which are appalling. But every now and again, you'll see something and say, yeah, that I can go with that. So it's about judging the information for its validity and not dismissing or judging information by who says it.
Amen. Exactly right. I want to tip my hat to Tucker as well. He's on a leash, but he is always at the end of it. He goes as far as he can, and we lose him. I think he's the only light there in the darkness. Essentially,
he's the only anything like proper journalist in American television, and probably most of the media. And you can see when the leash is pulling, because he'll say something, but he won't actually say it. But you can see in the implication what he's really saying. But most of the time, within that leash, he is doing a phenomenal job of highlighting what is basic intelligence. See, the progressive mentality has taken us into Orwell's 2 and 2 equals 5. You now lose your job sometimes if you say it equals 4. You can't say that men and women are biologically different, 2 and 2 equals 4. You have to agree that it's 5 and that they're not. This is why people like me and you won't refuse to do that. So the media have gone with 2 and 2 equals 5 and just repeat it. And here's someone saying, no, actually, I've looked again. I've got my calculator out. It equals 4, and that's a tremendous contribution to awareness that Tucker Carlson's involved in.
Well, we're certainly in agreement on that. And if you're listening, Tucker, or any of your friends, keep it up. You've got an awful lot of people out here who respect what you're doing. Now, my friend, tell us again where these premieres are going to be for Renegade, the film about the life of David Icke. Where are we going to be first?
Okay, I'm going to be in Manchester in the north of England on the 24th of this month, 24th of April. London on the 26th of April. Then I'm coming to Los Angeles for the 30th of April. New York on the 2nd of May. And Amsterdam on the 9th of May. And details are on davidicke.com. Like I say, I'm going to be at all of them, and we'll be answering questions afterwards. And,
where will you be in LA, David?
I don't know. Well, I literally don't know because my son does it all. But that's another story, right. You see. We now have to hold back venues and let people know at the last minute where the venue actually is.
Oh, of course.
Because of the efforts to have them banned, like I was banned from Australia. So this is the world we're in now. We have to deal with it and find a way around it. And this is one way that's worked so far.
April 30th in Los Angeles for all of you here, and in New York on May the 2nd, and then back over to Amsterdam. David, thanks for getting up early, as always.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, mate.
Wonderful tour. Oh, yeah. You be well. Take care.
Cheers, Jeff. Bye.
Okay. Good night.
The world needs renegades, and it needs them now.